Alright, my name's Vanta, and this will be my year review of the 2018 Honda CB650F. Um, like I said, I've owned this for a year, and it served me really well. It hasn't given me any issues. Let me just start riding, because I don't want to get people to be looking at me weird. But yeah, so I've used this primarily just for school, not school, because school's all online now, but primarily for work. It's the only vehicle that I own, and it has not failed me. Um, I mean, there has been an issue, but it's not a big issue. It's just from the bike sitting in the showroom for 2 years before I bought it, and the battery wasn't pulling amps. Oh, this cast member almost got killed. Wow, that's why you should pay attention on the streets, my man, or woman, whoever that was. But that's funny. I've been here for like maybe 20 minutes just trying to make this review, and I've been involved in so many near misses and just seen so many accidents in this area. It's bizarre. But yeah, again, I've owned this bike for a year, paid it in full, a little bit over 8,000, which is MSRP. I paid pretty much MSRP for this bike, and hasn't disappointed me for the price that I paid it for. It's an excellent bike. I plan to keep it forever, or I'm sorry, till the engine blows up or something. Just because it does everything so well. I've taken this touring already. I'm taking it to Utah. I've taken it to Colorado, and it does the job pretty well. Sometimes, if you're riding against the wind, it does become an issue. But overall, highway riding, this is a great bike. Dude, why aren't you turning? Come on. You're making me look weird. At least he has a pagan symbol on this thing. That's cool. But yeah, highway riding, overall, it's excellent. The tiny windscreen that's right here, technically it's a windscreen. It works. It does the job. It keeps most of the air off of you. But again, if you're heading against the wind, that's when it becomes an issue. But overall, it's comfortable. It's a sport touring, like ergonomics. It's set up exactly like the fairing variant of this bike, so you're not gonna have more of like an upright position. It's more of like a canted forward, just a tiny bit, which I'm not a fan of, but I've learned to live with it. And I've even tried to adjust the handlebars as far back as I physically can without hitting the tank. And even there, you're still canted forward just a little bit. So there's something to be mindful of if you don't like the sport touring setup. It's not super aggressive, thankfully. But it does make like cornering. It makes it really comfortable. It makes it feel more natural as opposed to like flat handlebars. So that's something to appreciate. And I'll probably demonstrate right here when I get to the end of this road. There's like two little corners. But yeah, cornering. If you're just doing it casually, this bike is excellent. Suspension, it's perfectly serviceable for that situation. However, it's if you have more experience, or if you're feeling a little, or extra daring, you will feel the limitations of the front suspension. It's not that great. Like again, it gets the job done, but if you're trying, you'll definitely feel the suspension bottom out if you're riding too hard, and the bike will let you know. But rear suspension, it's excellent. The tires do exactly what you need them to do. And again, for this kind of bike and for what it does, I don't think you need stickier tires. These work just well, and they're the stock ones, and I can't remember what they are, but they're just the stock ones from the factory. Alright, let's get out of here. Skedaddle. I don't want to be speeding because I have too many speeding tickets. That's one thing to be mindful of. This bike, because as you can hear, it's pretty loud. It's going to attract the attention of cops pretty easily. I've never had that issue with other bikes, and I've rode them crazier. But just because of how loud it is, you are going to be attracting the attention of the popo. But again, just be a good rider, be a lawful citizen, or law-abiding citizen. That should be an issue. And as you just saw there, the low-end torque on this, despite it being an inline four, it's amazing. The gears are set up so nicely that you don't have to worry about like shifting down a lot and making sure you're in the power range. This bike is definitely set up for commuting when it comes to the transmission and the gearing. I just don't agree with the ergonomics. I feel like upright handlebars would be more suitable for this bike. However, you can always, get aftermarket handlebars. One of the biggest issues on this bike that I don't like is the gear selector, or the fork, the selector fork, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it's been engineered wrong, or maybe I don't feel like it's a manufacturing issue as much as it's just the design and the engineering behind it, because I've noticed with a lot of bikes, just make sure I'm not getting followed. I noticed with a lot of bikes, a lot of these bikes that from other owners, it likes to drop gears, shift into false neutrals, just random quirkiness of the gear selector. And it's just, oh my god, yeah, let's get out of here. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. But again, it's the transmission itself, it's really strong. It's able to handle the beating of that. I've never noticed any like weird damage to the transmission. It's a nice dog. But as you just saw earlier, the brakes, they're excellent on this bike. For those who have been riding for a while and have owned single calipers up front, it's a little strange, or not a little strange. It's I'm just gonna wait. Kind of feels weird talking like this, and there's people around. Let's get moving. Oh, come on. Alright, let's go. And that's just me just accelerating gently. And as you can see, it gets out of the way. You don't ever have to worry about power on this bike when it comes to cars. Like, you are always going to out-accelerate cars on this bike, even with smaller bikes. So, if you're a beginner and you're concerned for power, this bike is going to provide a lot more than what you're able to handle, at least as a beginner. Even as an experienced rider, unless you are just like a crazy ass track rider or just really have nerves, you will probably match the level or the limitations of the bike. I feel like the limitations to this bike will be very accommodating to the average rider. And again, I've had, how do you say this? I ride with other people that are just extremely skilled and daring, and of course, for those guys, they're gonna definitely feel the issue with the suspension. But for most people, like what I'm doing here, is perfectly suitable. But yeah, also, for owning this bike, it's got average fuel economy. If you're just riding it like I am now, you're probably gonna get like 55 miles per gallon. And that's like really conservative, that's really economical. However, if I'm riding hard, just as I usually do, I usually get 50 miles per gallon. The worst I've seen it is 45 miles per gallon. But the great thing about this bike, despite the fuel economy being average or below average or slightly below average, it takes 87 octane gas, so you're not paying for 91 like I have with my previous 500F. So that's excellent on this bike. Like, if you're budget conscious, but you still want to have just a ridiculous amount of power, this bike will do it for you, and you don't have to worry about stopping in a gas station that doesn't offer premium. Because this bike accepts pretty much any gas you put in it. Just don't throw diesel. Please don't. You're gonna destroy the bike. But yeah, also when it comes to fuel consumption, it's great. I average around 200 miles per tank if I'm just being, you know, kind of half conservative, half hooning. However, hopefully it turns green. When it comes to the oil consumption, I've noticed this bike loves to consume oil if you're riding like this all the time, which I like to do a lot. What I notice, you know, after rides like that, especially after the canyons, I'll look at the exhaust port, or sorry, where the exhaust is, the little, I don't know, the exhaust, and you would see oil just coming out the end of the exhaust, which I'm assuming it's just because it's just an inline four, and again, like the engine's spinning so damn fast that it's just like pumping out oil through the exhaust. I'm not too concerned about it like actually burning oil through the head gasket or anything, but it does consume oil, or does spit it out through the exhaust, and it's not so much it's not so much oil to the point where you have to like fill up constantly. I've noticed that it loses just enough oil where you don't have to fill it, or how do you say it? By the time your service interval is up, like 8,000 miles, if you fill the oil correctly, which is, you know, halfway between full and low, you shouldn't. I don't know if you get. It's kind of hard to explain. By the time 8,000 miles is up, you'll consume enough oil where it'll just reach low, and it's time to, you know, fill up again. Which again, by the time you need to fill up is the time you need to change the oil anyways. So there's no issues there. But of course, just be diligent. Check the oil. Maybe your bike's a little different. But that's with my experience from a brand new engine, and I put around like 12,000 miles on it. Again, I put Motul 10W40 full synthetic. The bike recommends 10W30, but you can't find full synthetic in that, and I don't want to. And I change every 8,000 miles. I used to change like every 2,000 to 4,000 miles on my other bikes, but since this is the brand new bike, it's like, screw it, just give it the good stuff, and I don't have to worry about maintenance that much. Again, this is a maintenance-free, or not maintenance-free. It's a low maintenance. Of course, you want to take care of the chain a lot because it is a higher horsepower bike. And if you don't do that, you're just destined to destroy the chain or do some kind of damage to your drivetrain if you don't. You know, it's easy to adjust the rear tire and such. I've only had to adjust it once despite riding really hard, but I do clean the chain every 500 miles. I only had to adjust it once at like 10,000 miles, and it wasn't even that much. Maybe like half a centimeter or something. But yeah, easy maintenance on this bike, easy to clean. Overall, it's just a great bike. If you just want something that's going to do everything for you, and it's going to provide a lot of fun with that inline four, excellent bike. It's an excellent example of a UJM, a Universal Japanese Motorcycle. Come on, my man. Come on, dude. Come on, Scoob. Yeah, of course, if you just want like straight up like just torque, this bike, I mean, it provides torque, about 50 foot-pounds of torque. That's good, but it's no monster by any means. But if you just want, you know, if you just want what I just did there, just accelerate hard and not have to really worry about triple-digit speeds, this bike will do it for you, but you will be speeding. So that's something I do miss about small displacement bikes. But yeah, this bike is a lot of fun. I'm a very happy owner of one, and will own it till it dies, or if I die, or if we both die together. And yeah, let's calm down because I think that's a cop behind us. Yeah, I think it is. But one thing I do, I mean, it's not going to apply to a lot of Americans because lane splitting is illegal pretty much everywhere except for here in Utah. But the tires, I mean, the mirrors stick out a little bit farther than the handlebars. So you have to be mindful of that when you're passing through cars. It's not big of an issue, especially if you have experience. It doesn't become too much of an issue. But if you're learning to lane split, this is going to be a challenge just because of the way the handlebars are set up You know, it's not optimal for city commuting. It's more for, again, like highway use and cornering. But again, with experience, I should have taken that. Too late. Can I? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I definitely don't do that, but I mean, I do what I do. Also, the throttle, it does take a careful hand to really utilize it. Oh shit, this is the wrong entrance. Is it? Yeah, I believe it's the wrong entrance. There it is, I believe. Transit Plaza, yeah, I believe this is it. But, yeah, I mean, this bike's a lot of fun. Definitely recommend it. Ooh, is that a cop? Yes, the police. But, I definitely recommend this bike if you want a fine example of a UJM. That's the best way I can sum this bike up. It's a UJM, and it's a really good example. It's a very modern example, a very reliable example. Gets the job done, and it'll probably serve you really well when it comes to its limitations and such. Which, again, the biggest limitation is the front suspension. An easy fix with an upgrade, or it's slightly expensive. I think it's like $500, but still. Relatively easy fix. You're not replacing the engine or rebuilding anything. Man, I really need to pee. But yeah, I think that'll be it for me. That'll be my review of the CB650F. Highly recommend it. Yeah, and I hope if you're an owner of this, enjoy, because it's a great bike. Great bike. Not particularly a master of anything, but super fun. Man, we're gonna go pee around here, so I really need to pee.